inside another dimension, face battling barbarians and evil magic on a quest for adventure in a maze of monsters. Once you get into it, you'll never be the same. Hero Quest. Now with 2 new adventure packs, the legend grows.
Hi, welcome back to Not Your Mother's Hobbies. Today we have another mythic tier hero for Hero Quest. Who do we got? The last one, the Bard. I am not a huge fan of this one, admittedly. It is my least favorite out of all of them. I do like a Bard, just I don't know about this one. Well, let's see what we can do with it and get painting. Alright, first things first, we're doing that Violet 4. Because again, I do not have a don't have a violet, don't have a purple contrast, so we got to go back to basics. We got to start fresh. You've seen this done before on the, I guess, the wizard and the dwarf. So you know how it's gonna be. We're gonna layer up. This is a thin coat. We're gonna do like good old Duncan says, 2 thin coats at least, and get a nice smooth consistency on there. So just take your time. If you're like me and you don't have contrast to everything, well then just use what you got. And in this case, we're layering up, old school. So things like his vest and his hat, and I think that's about it actually, just the vest and the hat. It's gonna be purple. We're gonna add some Druchii Violet, just to give it some depth. You can see we have our nice smooth base coat. I think it was around 2 or 3 nice thin coats. So yeah, we're just gonna put this on there, get it all nice and meaty with the depth, flavorful. Make that violet finger looking good. So it's all ready by the time we get to the layering step. Now, you know I went all messy. That's because I can. I showed you on the dwarf, you can go super messy. You can just clean up. It's just paint. Don't sweat it. Don't worry. You can fix everything. And that's what I'm doing. I was super messy, lazy with the violet, and here I am going around cleaning everything up, getting that little metal, getting the little collar area that's underneath this belt, all that jazz. We're going to go all around it and clean up all of our mistakes, because mistakes are good, they help you learn, and you can always fix them. So with that done, we're jumping into our next color, and we're doing snakebite leather, and we're doing his leather booties. These have the cool classic fantasy flipped over top, I guess. You could do that as like a lighter interior brown, right? Like the outside is weathered and the inside is kind of styled. But I just chose to make it all the same color. I thought it looked pretty cool anyway, and we'll highlight the design of the flip over boot regardless. Then you're just going to keep going over all those little leather bits. He has a lot, so just keep an eye out, keep your peepers peeled, and just go all around it and get all of those leather belts and straps and stuff like that. You can see we're also going to hit this wooden loot that he's got. Not all of the loot. We want to avoid the face if possible, but remember, you can just fix it. You can just go in there with that wraithbone, just fix it. Don't worry about it. But yeah, we're going to hit the wood of the loot. We're going to hit all these little fin-dang danglies all over the place. Little belts, little buckly bits. And yeah, just hit it with that snake bite. If you ever get lost, just wait further in the video and you'll probably see where I ended up putting that color. And if it's not there, then I was just as lost as you. We got Skeleton Horde. This is going to be for his trim. He's got some trim on his vesty jacket thing. Maybe he ripped the sleeves off. I don't know. He's got a sleeveless kind of officer coat, and we're going to put that on there. We're also going to use it for the chest to give the chest a different color than the boots. So yeah, just do that. He got some blue pantaloons, so just hit that up with that frost heart. And you can see that I made a line in the middle and swoop to the side. And that's because we know that these pants are going to have pinstripes, so that's a great way to section it off, and that's a good thing to keep in mind is not just what colors and blocking you can separate this into little shapes, but what designs are going to be the final product. So we can use that to our advantage to avoid, streaking, tide marks, and work quicker. Especially when you're working with contrast paint, you want to really work quick. So yeah, did that in the middle, and then worked my way outwards and kept that wet edge, working quickly to avoid streaking and pooling. Here we go with some Agrak Earthshade, and that's just going to go over top our already skeleton hoarded chest. That's going to deepen the color, change it. It's going to make it different looking than the boots and whatever. And also it's going to make it different than the loot. Here we go, Black Templar. There's only a couple spots on here we're going to do black. One of them being this rapier sheath for his sword. Don't forget the little top. We're also going to use it on his like ribbon or whatever. I guess decoration ribbon on his hat. That's not in the artwork, but I just wanted to do it that way because it was quick and dirty. It'll stand out once we layer everything up with highlights. Filament Flesh for all of our gold blocking. That should be the end of the metallics. Apothecary White here, because he's got this little feather in his cap, and it'll just add some quick depth. Aethermatic Blue, just to change the color there of the metal and make it stand out. In the artwork it's not blue, but I figured a brighter color would stand out more against the purple vest. We got some gray on here for the buttons. They're going to be metallic. And we're going to use that same Basilicanum gray for the kind of outline hinges and whatnot, all the metal working of the chest. Now for the star of the show, he is an orc after all, so we're going to do some orky flesh. We're going to do this orc flesh different than the ones that we did for the enemies, and we're going to do a bright one more akin to the goblins. I figure brighter, he'll stand out more, it'll contrast nicely, kind of color coordinate with the purple vest and the hat and whatnot. In this case, he's super colorful, so let's go brighter being better. Then again, in the end, it's up to you how you're going to do it. You could do a red orc, a blue orc, you could do all kinds of different green orcs, whatever you want. Alright, we're going to use this dollar store white here to help blend a little bit of those pantaloonies. And that's just to take the edge off of, if we made any mistakes or if there was any pooling or tide marks. It just helps kind of relieve that, and it'll help blend it all together later as we go forward. It'll all get layered up and hidden underneath the pinstripes, and this will just add another little layer to help mix it together. You can also go over the loot and the wood, just to add a little more detail on there. Make it pop. And you can also go and do that feather on top as well as the strings on the back, just looking around for little places to pop detail. Alright, straight to the pants. Straight to the point of the pants. So we help blended with that white dry brush, and we're going to do a really watered down glaze, maybe like a 2 or 3 to 1. You can see right there I tested it on the cup. Just make it really watery so we can glaze it on and help everything blend together. Here's the first of our midtones or highlights. We're going to use Violet 3. You can go a little bit heavier on this if you wanted to, just because it's going to help even out a lot of, maybe the pooling or streaking that you might have missed with the, the Druchii Violet before, just sitting in the cracks and whatnot. So you can go a little heavier and just bring up that mid-tone with our Violet 3. You do the hat, the vest, all that kind of stuff. Now I want to point out on the vest, there is a mistake that I did. So if you are following along, keep in note that there's a mistake and you got to fix it. So I just used our Wraith Bone and I popped that on there and then threw our Skeleton Horde contrast on top, just to get it back to where all the other stuff was. And then continued right along with our Violet 2. This is our highest of the highlights for our Violet. be careful, go around, and again, this guy's got a lot of round areas. He's very voluminous. He doesn't have a lot of edge work going on. So this is time for you to stretch your muscles, spread your wings, and fly when it comes to identifying light sources. Here we're using our Wraithbone, not to fix anything, but actually as a midtone or highlight, and we're using it for the collar that he's got, that kind of trim work on the coat. So just go around, layer that up, maybe one or two on something like, you know, the front of this shirt or whatever. And then, of course, the little back tassel tail parts. Don't forget his teeth. Those are important. Pop his little teeth in there. We can also use it for the back of his loot. I guess the face of his loot. That would be the front, right? The part that you play. So avoiding the string area, I'm just stippling on, just for some texture, some of that Wraithbone on here to just add to the shape. You could just paint the whole thing, but I wanted to add some texture. I chose to do it that way. Here we got gunmetal. Just put that on the treasure chest, as well as whatever that little ending tip point is to the sheath of his rapier. So just don't forget about that one. Now we're coming in with some green 2 to help with that skin look. You can see he's a little mottled. Those round surfaces have not been kind to our contrast paint. So we're going to have to layer up quite a bit on this one. Thankfully, the brand that I'm using, War Colors, they go on very thin, very smooth, as long as you take your time. So with that in mind, we're going to build up our midtones and our first layer of highlight using this color or whatever your equivalent is. And if you got thin paints like me, just take your time, be patient, and build it up. You'll eventually cover up those nasty, nasty pooling areas. And here you go. You can see already. Look at that. Green 1, this is going to be our main highlight, our biggest highlight. If we layer it on, just like we did, nice and slow, building it up with thin coats, you can get a nice, round, volumetric look, and you can use the same paint to do multiple highlight levels. So here you can see, because he's got all these round, undefined shapes, like his muscle here, his delt is not very detailed. We're going to paint the detail in. So I broke that shoulder into 3 different slices, pizza slices, and I'm just building up the color, building up the color, building up the color, and doing that for the bicep, the tricep, the elbow, the forearm, all that jazz. Here we go. I did Guilliman flesh here off camera, but I put it in his mouth. Just shoved some red in his mouth. You can get it on the teeth. Doesn't matter. Just put it all in there in his mouth. It'll help shade at the inside. We're doing the metallics now. Popping that glossy Reichland flesh shade on top of our Retributor armor. First thing we got going on, let's take care of those pants, right? That's the most important thing. That's a defining feature of this guy. We're just using our exact same color we put down, so Frostheart, undiluted, and just take your time, nice and straight. Even pressure, I think, is the most important thing, even pressure, because then you'll have nice control over the brush. And just paint them in there. Go over them, you know, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, as many times as it takes you to get them in there defined. And because they're the same color, they will not detract. They will not get crazy dark or anything. They will fit in, blended, nice, just as they should be. Here again, this is another color we've seen before. It's just going back in with our Wraithbone to pop up those teeth, those tusks, and a couple of the top molars there. Chrome, putting that chrome on any of our metallics here. So we got buttons, buckles, and some details on that treasure chest, as well as the little knobby tip to the end of the rapier. Don't want to forget that guy. As well, last but not least, doing our little chromey pingy highlights on our gold. And then we finish it off with our standard basing of paint, texture paint, dry brush, shade, and dry brush. And there you have it. Look at that. Got a nice looking orc bard. I'll be honest, I didn't have high hopes for this one, but seeing it all come together, I really like this model. I think painted, colored, we added a lot that I couldn't see just bare bones, you know. I think it came a lot of way. That just goes to show that you shouldn't judge a miniature by its cover. And that with a little persistence, determination, elbow grease, and all that, you just might surprise yourself by the finished product. But that's it. There you go. There you have it. Bard all complete. That's all of the Mythic tier heroes finished. And that's not to say that the Mythic miniatures are over and done with. We got a couple more left. Namely a little known captive knight prisoner. Put your guesses down below in the comments who that might be. Give me a likey, a thumb uppy, a bloopy doopy, subscribey, and I'll see you later. Bye!